The family of a man who was killed in a demolition exercise carried out by soldiers last year at Kaswa Millennium City, they say they will sue the military for his death. The 23-year-old was shot after the soldiers opened fire on residents of the area who were protesting a takeover of their land. The military inquiry that investigated the 23 soldiers for their role in the incident concluded they were only defending themselves when they shot at 3 people during the demolition exercise by the 21st Century Construction Company. Now, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo has more on this story.
Where I find myself now is where all the action happened. The clash between some of the residents in this community and the military persons who had come around to supervise the demolition of some of the houses. The demolished structure that you see here and a number of others in the community did not happen easily. It actually cost the life of 1 resident and 3 others were left injured as a result of this particular incident. Well, the residents here are not happy that the military persons are insisting that their men who supervised the demolition exercise did absolutely nothing wrong when they shot at some of the residents.
My name is Dr. Rufai Ahmed. I'm the chairman of Gomwenyano Development Association, a committee that is supposed to work for the residents and the military. Should have been a composition of the military and also the residents and maybe the police, so that there will be a very fair distance, so that everybody's view will be captured. But unfortunately, we were not contacted. The residents were not contacted. The family of the deceased were not contacted.
Chaotic scenes there from the incident on the 3rd of September last year. 2 people were shot in the leg and one, Michael Asaredako, aged 30, was hit in the head. He died later at the Kwalibu Teaching Hospital. A copy of the autopsy report signed by Dr. L. Edusei, who Joy News has intercepted, gave 2 reasons for the death: high-velocity gunshot injury and fractured skull with cerebral convulsion. Military police sources say the soldiers returned from the operation having spent 10 bullets. They told investigators they were in the area to maintain order, but the crowd attacked them with sticks and stones. They responded with fire because they were, quote, frightened. They feared they would have been lynched if they had not acted. Head of Public Affairs at the Ghana Armed Forces, Colonel Eric Agrikwashi, tells Joy News the residents were incited against the soldiers.
Do you know that particular incident? Joy FM wanted to lay ambush for us. Joy FM knew that the soldiers were going there. And so why would Joy FM go and lay ambush for military people?
We actually got the hint and then we rushed to the scene, not that we laid ambush.
You were there even before, yes. So you see, we also do our own investigations and found out that you want to lay ambush for us. So you even were preempting that these soldiers will come and misbehave. So even when they go there, somebody could even instigate them, because they were trying so against them. But that one, nobody reported that.
So the investigations have shown that they were really not responsible for any bad acts.
No, the people went there to perform a duty, and there were exchanges.
And the personnel who are responsible are still within the service. No action has been taken against them.
No, if I send somebody to go and perform a duty and something goes wrong, what sort of action do I have to? I can't dismiss them from the service because if they have not asked them to go and perform the duty, that incident would have happened. So you can't dismiss them from the armed forces. But you look at it, if there were excesses, yes, then you punish them accordingly. But the type of punishment the media is expecting, it might not be the type of punishment that will be.
Has any punishment been meted out at all from what?
That one is within our circus, and so we know how to deal with our people when they do things outside their the tax that is given them.
The residents deny attacking the soldiers. The Zongo chief of the area, Saki Tairu Abdallah, was on the ground that day.
Old women, children, the community as a whole were there. And you said people attacked you. Who attacked who? If really the military knows that they are coming to visit their land or site, why were they with arms? 2 or 3 men with arms. What intention do they have? What negative mind do they have against the community? That they came in arms. They came fully armed with ammo cars. They shot somebody's son down. because of a property, fighting for his right. In Ghana, they say democracy, democracy. What is the democracy?
Joy News understands the homicide unit of the Ghana Police Service is also conducting a parallel criminal investigation into the incident, details of which are unavailable. For Joy News, Joseph Upokugabo reporting.
Group captain, retired or being in team, who is lawyer for the family, tells Joy News they are not interested in the criminal prosecution of the soldiers responsible. He says rather the family will seek redress in court for adequate compensation.
Our angle is not asking that whoever did the shooting be punished. That's not the approach we want to adopt. We want compensation for the bereaved family so that their pain and suffering could be assuaged in a way. So whether the person, the military, is blamable or not, culpable or not, compensation should be paid the family. That is my understanding of the law. They need to be paid compensation for untimely, for terminating the life of the individual at his prime, prime of life.
How much compensation are you looking at possibly?
That one I've not thought about it. It will depend. If you see, we're also looking at it that maybe the military could sit with us and then arrive at something. But then the point was that since blame has not been apportioned, there was no way they were going to sit with us and talk about compensation. Now that they are saying they are not culpable, I believe it's the law court that will finally decide. He will tell us who is to blame.
That's actually what I was driving at. So that what further steps will you and your clients be ready to take to ensure that the right thing is done?
The report that we are all expecting, I heard in the radio today that is in, but I've not been served with a copy. Under normal circumstances, maybe if they are not even going to give us a copy, it's only proper that they inform us of the outcome of the investigation. Be that as it may, I believe the police must also be contacted so that their report will be obtained. And there we will know whether somebody is to be prosecuted or not prosecuted. The compensation aspect is purely civil, and that's what we are tackling from my angle.
So even wanting to pursue that, how crucial would the outcome of the police's investigation be when it comes to, for example, prosecuting the civil case you intend prosecuting to get compensation?
Yes, if the police are able to say that, this untimely death was the military was responsible for the boy's untimely death, then of course the quantum of compensation would come into play, because we would then have how would I put it? We would then have resources to work on. As it is, we do not know how much. I don't think we can tell you, offhand, how much compensation we will require. But if we read the report and see whether somebody had been grossly negligent, then of course we will know how much we will ask for our client.
Watching Joy News Prime, we're taking a break. We have more stories coming up. Please don't go away. Now, some health facilities in the country have begun the co-payment system where subscribers of the National Health Insurance Authority are made to settle part of their health bills. The system, adopted mainly by privately owned facilities, is informed by the delay by the National Health Insurance Authority to pay outstanding claims. The Mother of God Hospital at Ashama here in Accra is one of such facilities. Its executive consultant, Dr. Abel Franklin Mensah, speaks about their frustrations with the NHI.
You see, you can countenance things for some time, but when it's becoming overly overwhelming, then you would have to take a decision. For instance, if you have negotiated for loan to expand your facility and you have to use part of the money to buy drugs and the monies will be kept for 10 months, if you're a smart businessman, you should know that it's not going to help you. You have to put a stop to it. Therefore, we can't continue financing our operations without being reimbursed. Therefore, we decided to go this way.
So, for how long have the NHI not paid?
For our facility in general, I can't really say for other people, but for our facility, up to date, 10 months. And let me correct this impression. You mentioned that we are running cash and carry. We're actually not running cash and carry. We are running what we call quasi-active national insurance scheme. The association actually decided that we should go cash and carry, but you see, every facility can turn it around a bit. In order to cushion our clients a bit and stay connected to the scheme, we opted for quasi-active national insurance scheme. That's what we are running now.
You've not been...
It was quite bad, quite bad.
But is this something your clients how are they accepting it? Because some are complaining and they might not be privy to this decision. To them, you are giving them a raw deal.
Precisely so. Most of them are circulating that now we are not accepting national insurance, which is false. And that's what they are circulating, that we are not accepting, we are not honoring our promises. It's gotten bad because it has a lot of bad effect on them now. Some of them think that if I'm coming here and I'm going to pay, then I better go elsewhere and pay there than to come to your facility. We were your clients. Why do you treat us this way? They don't understand actually. They don't understand. They think we are being paid and we are just trying to be funny. But that's not the case.
So just run me through. If I'm a patient right now and I come on the NHIS, what services will I receive? Which one won't I receive for free?
Under the quasi-active insurance scheme, when you come, consultation is free. You want to see the doctor, you don't pay anything, but anything that we buy, you pay for. You pay for your medications and all other services that we need to pay money for.
And so are you going to demand the consultation fee that is free from the NHIA?
Yes, please. When it comes to consultation, we will forward our claims to the authority, and that one they will pay. But for medications, no claims will be forwarded. I am not on their minds, but I guess they will not be happy about that. It's their wish that we stay active. But when you wish to stay active and the money is not there, what do? You understand? I don't think they'll be happy to see us go quasi. They want us still to be fully active. But it's difficult. You can't be active without money.
Now, in a separate development, the 37 Military Hospital has denied claims that it is partially charging patients who come there for treatment. A notice purportedly posted on the walls of the hospital indicated that patients will be expected to pay part of the bill, while the NHIS takes up the rest. Acting Public Relations Officer Joanna Sepe, however, dismissed the claim.
We actually saw the notice pasted on the wall, but the hospital hasn't got anything to do with it. It was just a brief discussion as to see the way forward for the hospital.
The way forward as
in NHIS charges. And for example, when somebody goes through a cesarean section, NHIS pays 175 to the hospital. But when you calculate everything, it amounts to over 600 cedis. So that means the hospital is losing. So this was just a brief discussion to see the way forward, just to see the smooth running of the hospital.
So does it mean that the hospital is also considering this issue about co-payment too as well?
No, not at all. The hospital hasn't asked anybody to pay for the hospital fee that NHIS will pay part and then the hospital too will pay part, or the individual too will also pay part. The hospital hasn't said anything like that. Apparently, there are a lot of patients who visit the facility daily. We have about 2,000 plus patients visiting the polyclinic alone. That's the civilian polyclinic and other departments. So let's say we have over 3,000 or 5,000 patients visiting the hospital in a week. So when you look at this figure, you will notice that if NHIS is giving just a small amount to the hospital and we are bearing the higher cost, that means the hospital is losing.
Now, some NHIS card bearers who visited the 37 military hospital on Monday morning have at Tell Joy News they had to pay cash for some of the services they received.
Dr. Isaac Morrison says they have been
I've been coming here for I think 4 months now. It doesn't cover the scan. I did my scan outside 37. I bought the drugs here. I paid for everything. I gave them the card, but they didn't accept it. So I paid for my drugs, but with the consultation, the NHIS covers it. And then, well, yes, I did a lab test and they didn't charge me anything. So for the lab and the consultation, I didn't pay for that. Yeah.
When you come, they have to verify you and make sure that you've authenticated yourself that your NHI is working. Then they'll give you a sheet. You give them a photocopy of your NHI. They'll give you a sheet and go and see the doctor. You join the queue and see the doctor. I've been to polyclinic before for my first delivery, and it was working. And I think about 3 weeks or a month ago, I sent my daughter, my small baby, to Achimota Polyclinic, and I didn't pay anything. It was only some of the medicines that they said they didn't have, so I have to go to the drugstore and buy. But some I was given, and I didn't pay anything for the whole consultation and everything. It works very well.
Now, the Society of Private Medical and Dental Practitioners is meanwhile threatening to go ahead with plans to demand cash payments or cost sharing from National Health Insurance subscribers over delays by the authority to reimburse them for outstanding bills. The society, which boasts of 400 privately owned health centers, are threatening to implement the decision from this week. Its president, Dr. Isaac Morrison, however, tells Joy News they've had to defer the action following an invitation by the NHIA for a meeting to agree on a way out.
Dr. Isaac Morrison says they have been compelled to come to this decision because of the persistent failure of the NHIA to settle its obligations to them. He says the amount due them covers claims for more than 6 months and that the cash and carry option will be the only way to save the operations from running aground. Implementation of the decision will see NHIS subscribers paying outright cash for services rendered them or being made to pay for some services whilst the authorities build with the rest.
July. Some have just received July, others are yet to receive July. So for August, September, October, November, December, technically everybody's owed. Some have folded up, that is one. Others sought interventions from their bankers by way of, asking for overdraft facilities, etc., in the hope that at least there will be some regular payments so that they can offset. And I'm sure, I have a meeting again this afternoon with NHI, and we'll see how it goes.
What are your members saying now? Because I know some health facilities, for now, the NHIS only covers consultation. Is that the position of your members too?
Well, the position of my members as at the time we had that, shall I say, resolution passed somewhere in February, was that we should be paid all our arrears by the end of February. Failure, then we'll resort to cash and carry.
The National Health Insurance Authority is unwilling to comment, but admits owning a number of these health facilities. It says it is working on settling them. It, however, says the failure of some of the health facilities to renew their expired credentials is partly to blame for the delayed payments. But President of the Society of Private Medical and Dental Practitioners is challenging the claim.
Have you checked whether both public, private, quasi-government, everybody had at a point in time not renewed their mandate, their contracts? That's all I'm saying. We had all not renewed. It is not the case that, for example, maybe Mamobi Polyclinic or Fanchiniko government hospital had renewed. All had fallen short.
So
but you were exactly. That's unfortunate. And the posturing of some of their members in authority makes it as though the private sector is not wanted. If it's not wanted, let's have it. Let's have that understanding. Then we know exactly what to tell our members, how to move forward. So once we finish, if there's still the room to go, definitely I'll go. Otherwise, tomorrow is there. It's another day. We'll sit, we'll dialogue, we'll find a solution to it.
What then happens if your concerns are not addressed after these meetings?
If concerns are not addressed, then obviously, for sure, we'll have to go by what we think would solve our problem.
And what do you think will solve your problem?
Several things can happen.
Such as?
I don't want to really give those issues out, but let's wait and see.
The health insurance service providers will take their final decision after the Tuesday meeting on whether or not to go back to the cash and carry system or adopt the co-payment system. Matilda Humaga, for Joy News, Accra.
Watching Joy News Prime, we're taking a break now, but still to come in the bulletin, the continuous closure of the Central Sterilization Services Department of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital is causing anxiety amongst doctors there who say they're frustrated by the lack of equipment to operate patients. We'll be back with business in a bit. Right, time now for business, and Emmanuel has joined me with the business news. So I saw your headline, which has to do with the IMF. I'm summarizing it to mean essentially that the IMF is telling Ghana not to backslide.
You're right. You're right. That's exactly how it puts it. And well, we wait to see.
Right.
It's time for the third review, of the fund program. And this week we're expecting the IMF team here. And already Christian Lagarde is telling us to make sure we are in track.
We stay
exactly,
on track.
Exactly.
Right, take it away.
All right, so in business, about 60 workers of the car power ship have lost their jobs. This includes 10 engineers who are staff of the Turkish company that constructed the power barge and more than 50 workers with 2 subcontracted firms. The first barge arrived in the country last year as part of government's efforts to end the crippling power crisis. The company is currently constructing the second barge, expected to arrive by September. But some Ghanaian workers there have already lost their jobs, as highlighted by this Business Desk report.
Sources say the company at the beginning of this month wrote to about 10 Ghanaian engineers terminating their contracts. The engineers, who have been working with the company since November last year, are reportedly to be replaced with new hands from Turkey for non-performance. Some of them have been speaking with Joy Business.
All they wrote was termination letter. It has no reason. The letter itself has no reason. The whole thing, when you read it, it doesn't make sense.
As my colleague was also saying, I'm also part of the mechanical maintenance team as well. I only know if contract should be terminated, it should be based on performance. Now, on what basis we were terminated, our contract was being terminated, we don't know. Who did the assessment on a contract, we don't know. So we don't really understand what is happening.
On the 4th, our HR met us and then she told us that by the end of April, almost half of the Ghanaians will be out of the company because the new management is saying there are too many people on the badge. So we asked her what is going to be the criteria, and she said Kapawa owes us no explanation.
There are about 30 Ghanaian engineers working on the car power ship, and more are expected to be laid off by the end of the month. The dismissed workers also complain about poor working conditions and discrimination.
The main problem is they can't speak the English very fluently, so it's more of sign language. But when you don't get them very well, they are pissed off. They try to throw off their hands to the extent that even I can't remember there was a time somebody had to even throw an object to a Ghanaian, which was very, very bad.
It got to a point they even had a staircase for Turkish staircase for Ghanaians. I mean, yeah, Ghanaian working on this staircase, so you know this is for Turkish only. Go and use the other staircase. They had times for us to go for lunch. It got to a point if you go, they said let the Turkish finish eating before you come and eat.
In February, a new country manager, Ekut Artis, took over from American Robert Kramer, who led the arrival of the barge to Ghana. In what the new management calls restructuring, subcontractors on the ship are said to have been ordered to sack some workers. Icon, an engineering firm owned by a Lebanese and undertakes maintenance works on the ship, has reportedly sacked 8 out of its 20 workers. Another firm, Blagodov, which undertakes cleaning services on the ship, is also said to have sacked about 45 of its total workforce of 80. Officials of Car Power have declined comment on the issue.
Endeavor to pass every review under the IMF program, and that should help boost investor and market confidence in the economy. That's the advice coming from the IMF boss Christine Lagarde to Ghana. George Rafi has more from the IMF World Bank spring meetings in Washington.
When Ghana signed up to the 3-year program with the International Monetary Fund in April last year, it was the expectation of government that the program would help fast-track economic stability, promote growth, reduce budget deficit, and address the lack of confidence in the economy. However, a year down the line, the country is still struggling in getting the required confidence from investors, especially because of how the economy is still being managed. The situation has been compounded by the upcoming elections in November, which has heightened the uncertainty. But answering a question posed by Joy Business at the IMF World Bank spring meetings in Washington, D.C., Managing Director of the fund, Christine Lagarde, says if Ghana is able to implement the conditions under the program, the lack of market confidence would be a thing of the past.
I'd say that, for any country under a current program to actually deliver under the program, go through the review one after the other, is probably the best response to market concerns about the stability and the macroeconomic policies decided by the country.
On the current commodity crisis, Madame Lagarde was of the view that it might be prudent for Ghana to look at diversifying its economy to lessen its impact on the country.
For countries that are facing the shock of the commodity prices, I think we generally recommend to use flexible exchange rate regime in order to operate as a shock absorber. For those countries that have buffers available, that they use them reasonably, and generally for countries that have been predominantly relying on commodity exports, to actually really think through a diversification model so that other sources of growth can be identified and developed with it.
Christine Lagarde also maintained that African countries like Ghana are now more prepared for any global shocks than previously thought. From the headquarters of the International Monetary Fund on the Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C., this is George Rafi reporting for Joy Business.
Meanwhile, economist and head of finance at the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Godfred Bokping, wants the IMF to be firm in its third review of Ghana's fund program. Speaking to Joy Business, the head of finance at the university school stressed this has become even more crucial because of concerns of overspending in election. He has been speaking to Joy Business as the IMF team prepares to carry out the third review of Ghana's fund program this week.
I think that the third review for me is very critical. And at this stage, I would urge the IMF to go beyond being diplomatic and we have to be able to say things as they are and drive home the need for government to actually act a little bit swift, even in terms of passing certain reforms that are in the IMF program, because the gains that we are seeing at the macro level, to be able to ensure that they are durable and lasting, we have to situate them within broader institutional reforms. And these reforms are still behind. You know, so, I mean, what is keeping us? Right to information bill, the other things, because you see, growth development is such that you have to look at it holistically and ensure that whatever gains that we are able to record, of course, is coming at a cost to all of us. See what the economy has gone through, energy sector levies, adjustment here and there. We have to make sure that we lay the right foundation, that we don't go through this again. Then we'll be able to anchor our transformational agenda when we are able to guarantee ourselves macroeconomic stability, which is not an end in itself, but it's a requisite. I mean, it's a requirement for transformation. The real effect of fiscal discipline is that if politicians want to spend in excess of what has been budgeted, then they will learn to put their own hands in their own pocket rather than the public pocket.
And especially with the new governor in place, under the law, we are the review program, we are not supposed to lend more than 10% of our reserves to government.
The program is supposed to be zero.
All right. Now we are looking at the new governor. Are they going to look at whether he's going to be fiscally disciplined in order not to lend, because we are in an election here anyway?
Yeah, it's up to the new governor. What does he want to be remembered for? So those are the issues. But we also have to bear in mind that we didn't have market confidence. It was one of the reasons why we had to submit ourselves to the IMF for this program. So we don't want to do anything that will send us back.
All right, so it's the beginning of yet another week on the Ghana Stock Exchange. And once again, John Kujamwaku has been monitoring the movements in the stock exchange. And now, Princess Moore, good evening, John.
Good evening, Emmanuel.
Yes, what's up?
The market, actually, after monitoring for a while now, I mean, until about 3:30, the market is still, as it is, it's quite, as some will call it, it's quite, bearish, very bearish, basically. Not responding to anything actually being put in there, not responding that very well. After recording was 144,430 in terms of volume at a value of 79,601, basically. Still market capitalization dwindling. Now you can tell between 54,747. Now it is 54,432. That tells you the magnitude, the volume of losses that we are recording so far as the market cap is concerned. A lot of companies are losing value on the exchange. Now, the CI is hovering around 5.82% per annum. What it means is that, Emmanuel, if you do have investment actually in listed equities on the Ghana Stock Exchange, generally, assuming you have spread it across board, you would be losing 5.82% as we speak. If you had actually, very significant. Okay. If you had concentrated your investment on only financial equities or financial stocks, you would be losing 7.71. Very, very significant. We just in the just about the first month in the second quarter, and that is exactly what is happening. You can tell today, no gainer on the market. All four equities that moved the market lost. Bank topped, the losers after it lost almost about 2% to each investors' capital, followed by ACI, EG, and of course, Ecobank Transnational Incorporated. That is how the market is. We don't see much gainers. Almost always we do see losers on the market. It's just basically a response to the economic conditions of our country. Okay. Let's call it a spade. Let's call it a spade a spade. The instability of our currency, interest rate hikes. Like I told you before, the market directly responds to interest rates. In other words, investors on the market do have reasons why they should move outside the market and then invest in other securities and other stuff.
Right. So that's how it is. What's the pullout by Iran still affecting the oil industry?
It is. The market is trying to actually recover. I was monitoring this afternoon around 3:30. This afternoon, it was trying. I just added something, but it's still losing. Now it's actually 42.92 per barrel. That is quite a significant drop in value there. But then gold also did lose 23 cents and it's also trading as we speak almost around 1,233 per ounce. And cocoa, the only gainer for where Ghana has some interest in, also did gain $56 at now selling almost around 3,043. So that's basically how the market. We'll be doing the currency tomorrow, God willing. So basically that's how it is. Not that good, a bit bearish, but who knows?
Thank you very
the
much,
week
John.
Would have something for us.
Thanks
You're
for
welcome.
that update. And that wraps up the business segment tonight. My name is Emmanuel Riafe. Join us again tomorrow for more business news. Good evening.
Welcome back to Joy News Prime. The continuous closure of the Central Sterilization Services Department of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital is causing anxiety amongst doctors there who say they are frustrated by the lack of equipment to operate patients. The sterilization machine has been out of use for the past 4 weeks, and though the hospital administration says alternate arrangements have been made, the doctors say they are inefficient. One of the frustrated orthopedic surgeons at Korle Bu, Dr. Fred Salau, in a rare move, opened up to Joy News' Kwete Nate about the challenges.
The Central Sterilization Services Department is the main unit at the hospital, which ensures that reusable equipment deployed in surgeries are free of all forms of contamination. The CSSD autoclave machine broke down 4 weeks ago, and the hospital authorities have assured it will be fixed by the end of April.
Work is going on. Contract has been awarded for the replacement of the faulty parts, and then we hope that before the end of next month we'll have the place fixed for them to resume normal operations.
The hospital's PRO, however, stated that alternative arrangements have been made to make the equipment safe for reuse.
The breakdown of the autoclave machines at the CSSD does not mean that we don't have any other source of autoclaving materials for theaters. We have other autoclave machines spread across the hospital that we use at various theaters, the pediatric surgery theater, surgery unit theater. Also have the first floor theater where we have another autoclave, despite the fact that the capacity there is not as huge as the main CSS unit, but they are helping. But sometimes when there's a need, we also fall on other sister hospitals within the metropolis to help us to autoclave materials for the CSS unit.
But the doctors say the options have not helped and that they have become redundant due to the absence of their tools.
The number of people who come to this hospital every day is more than the instruments that we are sterilizing. So they go and sterilize 1 and 2, and some don't go at all. Okay, so by the time you get to theater, everything is finished. As of today, everything is finished. So we just have to cancel the list.
How often are you compelled to cancel cases because of what's happening?
It's just started when the CSSD got broken down. Before, when the CSSD was working, we were having once a while it gets broken down. But we could cope. But now we can't cope with it. That is for now, it can't. We can't cope.
Orthopedic surgeon Dr. Fred Salau says many patients have been turned away even though there were doctors willing to work.
We are talking about instruments and gowns to operate on patients. The CSSD has broken down. It is not working. We have patients who come in as emergencies and we cannot operate on them. As at now that I'm speaking, you have to refer people to 37 because the instruments are not there. The list for today is being cancelled because everything is gone and it's not coming. And indeed, it's so frustrating to see patients who you want to treat and yet you can't treat them because there are no instruments. And I don't know what to do because today we've been sitting here all day just trying to put our heads together to get bits and pieces of instruments to operate on patients.
As the doctors power pressure from their frustrations on the hospital management, the patients will be the ones being made to bear the brunt. Kwete Nate for Joy News.
The acting chief executive of the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, DVLA, Noble Appiah, has admitted some staff transferred from his office to other offices are still on the DVLA's payroll. He made this revelation when he appeared with the Deputy Transport Minister Joyce Bah Mokhtari to respond to various infractions identified in the Auditor General's report covering the period 2011 to 2012. The DVLA boss was grilled on misappropriation of funds by district officers at Parliament's Public Accounts Committee. Here are excerpts.
Says that he received an amount of about 12,000 Ghana cedis. Has that been paid back?
Well, the staff, the only thing is that his pay has not been moved at that time from controller. I mean, so that you continue receiving his.
So when was it ratified?
I think on government accountant general's payroll. So we normally have to write for them to take the necessary thing. It takes some little of time. So when the guy was transferred from Sunyani Techiman to Okekos, it took a bit of time for us to write for them to do the changes. But it has been addressed now.
And I tell you, you are lying to the committee because we are saying the action was taken in 2011. And it's a lie.
I don't know what information you want, but that's information I have, please.
Because this is 2011 account, which will have been audited in 2012. So how come you took the action in 2011 to rectify it?
Oh, sorry, to 2012.
Have you withdrawn your earlier statement?
Yes, my lord.
For me, it looks as if when we begin to hear this thing coming up from the auditors, it's like the auditors don't know what they're about, with the greatest of respect. Because my understanding of audit is that after everything, you are given 1 full month. 1 full month to clear yourself before they prepare the audit report. So if after 1 full month, you will not be able to clear yourself, and it finds its way into the Auditor General's report, then you come here and then you tell us that the whole action was taken immediately. It appears it doesn't reconcile with whatever they do. That is my take. And for the sake of the auditors and the general public, we need to put this out very clearly for people to understand. Because if you say it was taken immediately, what is your definition of immediately? Yes, what's your definition of immediately? Immediately means what? Was it after 1 month? Was it after 4 months? Or your definition of immediately means after 4 months it was immediately?
Mr. Chairman, we've noted the comments, and subsequently I'm sure the technical people will provide specific timelines for when these decisions were taken. Thank you.
Meanwhile, a member of the Public Accounts Committee, Isaac Esiama, is leading calls for the vetting of district, municipal and metropolitan chief executives. This follows the failure of the DC for Bibini and Wiaso Jacob Oware to disclose the population size of his area in a banter with some members of the Public Accounts Committee. Now, moving on to other stories. They are without a school building of their own and depend on 2 makeshift structures built with thatched roof and a borrowed small room used as a church. The walls, however, have serious cracks and is virtually on the verge of collapse. That is the story of the Tambare RC Primary School in the Wild West District of the Upper West Region, which is appealing to the government and other benevolent organizations to come to their aid. They also complain of poor ventilation and have fears there could be an outbreak of cerebrospinal meningitis. Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam traveled to the school and now reports.
Tambar RC Junior High School is located in the Wild West District of the Upper West Region. It was established about 10 years ago and has a pupil population of 70. They have no school building of their own. They depend on this dilapidated structure used for church service by the Roman Catholics, and 2 other makeshift structures built from stick, straw, and thatch. The 2 makeshift structures are used by the JSS 1 and 2 as their classrooms, while the borrowed church building is reserved for their senior colleagues at JHS 3. Even though the purpose of the makeshift structure is to prevent them from being exposed to the sun or drenched by the rain, they are now vulnerable to them. It is now worn out and on the verge of collapsing. Boy Michael is the senior prefect of the school.
When the thunder will be serious, master will be serious teaching, and if it is raining or if it is a wind is blowing, I think that we can't sit properly, because when a wind is blowing, it's always taking the books out, and then when it is raining too, the phone 1 and phone 2, I think that they can't sit. And then the phone 3 too, the place will be, the way the wind will blow, and the zinc will be shaking. So I think that we can't sit again. So we have to run home. Sometimes we even have holidays without government giving to us. Because when you get up in the morning and it is raining up to 12, I think that even if you come to school, but you can't do anything, because all the blubber will be wet, the plate will be leaking, the decks will be wet. I think you can't even sit on the decks. So even if you come, you'll be playing around.
The makeshift structures also serve as abode for snakes, reptiles, and scorpions. Senior girls prefect of the school, Yoko Comfort, is uncomfortable about the situation.
Some of the day we will come and sit under this day, and the snake also there. We are, if and that day the teacher asked us to go and kill the snake. If you come into the classroom, we are afraid to see, because we are think that the snake will also be dead again. So this place make our worry. We can't even study.
The JS3 pupils are not comfortable either, even though they are using the church building as their classroom. During examination period, all 3 classes are brought together, and the pupils pack like sardines in this classroom for the examination. Ventilation is very poor here, as there are only 2 narrowed windows. There are cracks all over the walls, which can aptly be described as a death trap, thereby putting fear into the pupils. Boy Michael again.
I'm appealing to the government to come and help us in addition to if they can get a school block for us. So if they can get a good structure, so that we can also do better when we go to our BEC, so we can do better more than some people. But if we don't have good structure, we always feel lazy, or it's always disturbing us to learn.
Even though the Wawes District Assembly is constructing a 6-unit classroom with ancillary facilities for them, they are studying in classrooms, most of whom are on the verge of collapsing. They are built with mud bricks and thatch. One other unique thing both schools had in common is the lack of teachers. The 2 schools have 7 teachers taking care of the over 300 pupils. For fear of being victimized, teachers from both schools refuse to speak to the Joy News team. Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam, Tambara.
And up next, we bring international news. All right, so Aisha Ibrahim is the one who gets to tell us what's coming up on Journeys Interactive this evening. Good evening to Aisha.
And it's indeed great to tell you what's coming up.
It's been a while having you here.
On the most interactive segment.
Exactly.
And of course, Nigerian prophet TB Joshua declares Ghana free from any terrorist attack as security personnel tighten alert efforts. So that's it. We can all go to bed.
I believe my prayers have been answered.
And a sermon by a renowned Ghanaian pastor has got people talking about young ladies and how they may be wasting their youth.
Obvious. Most of them are, or some of them are crazy for wealth, and they spend all their youthful days chasing wealth. They don't want to start with the young ones so that they grow together.
We'll get to know all of these on your most interactive segment in the next 20 minutes. Stay with me.
All right, thank you very much, Aisha. So Aisha will be back in a bit, so please don't go away. We'll be back shortly with Joy News Prime. Watching Joy News Prime Time now for a recap of our top stories. Family of young man killed after officers of the Ghana Armed Forces fired on civilians last year rejects military report clearing them of any wrongdoing and vows to sue. National Health Insurance subscribers insist they are being made to split the cost of healthcare given them despite denials by some health facilities. In business, IMF boss Christine Lagarde cautions Ghana to endeavor to pass every review under the IMF program to help boost investor and market confidence in the economy. Now, the Public Health Director at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, Dr. Simpson Boateng, has disclosed to Joy News the Assembly is intensifying the aggressive approach it has adopted to prevent a possible widespread outbreak of cholera. Measures like elimination of slums and arresting people who openly defecate are but a few of measures the Assembly has implemented to prevent a repeat of last year's outbreak that killed more than 121. Dr. Simpson Boateng, speaking on the pause, expressed confidence about the Assembly's preparedness.
What we have done is that we have intensified the health education. We see our men going about, ensuring that people will keep to the standards that we have set for them, especially the food vendors. We don't want people to buy food from, unhygienic sources. And we are also prosecuting people who are exposing their food to the weather. We are also ensuring that people who fall foul to the law are also prosecuted, and we are prosecuting them on a daily basis. Again, we are also intensifying cleanup exercises. In addition to the mentoring sanitation days, we also organize cleanup exercises occasionally in the various sub-metros to ensure that this cholera which we experienced in 2014 will not happen again. Because of the open defecation, which is very rampant in such areas, that's primary areas, last year we saw our elimination of a lot of slums in the city. And that also contributed significantly to our not having the disease last year. So these are some of the things that we are doing. We are eliminating all those slum areas where sanitation is a very huge challenge. And we are also arresting people who are defecating in the open. In addition to that, we have also built a number of public toilets, about 48 of them, some at various stages of completion. And the household toilet policy is still enforced, and we are ensuring that residents have, landlords have toilets in their home. So these are some of the things that we are doing.
Meanwhile, residents of Atani, one of the hardest hit areas during last year's cholera outbreak, have also braced up for a possible outbreak. Joy News' Latif Idris visited the area and reports residents have put in place a 2-week cleanup exercise, a cleanup campaign as a way of preventing a possible outbreak.
The AMA has issued a health alert in the national capital. Now, the health alert comes at the back of a recent cholera case that was recorded at the 37 military hospital. Now, when the cholera outbreak struck last year, one of the hardest hit communities was the Art Center here in Accra. Today, I'm here to find out from the residents what they are doing different in the wake of the alert issued by the AMA and how prepared they are. David Lamte, you were here last year when the outbreak hit this neighborhood.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you tell us exactly what's accounted for the outbreak briefly?
Last time you had the last year. Yeah. Due to the improper arrangement of the residency, especially you see people defecation the same time cooking around that side there, and the rubbish. Behind the rubbish they are cooking, and the same children are playing into the rubbish. So that brought the outcome of the cholera outbreak last year.
You talk about open defecation, people defecating almost everywhere. Has that changed?
Oh, sure. Last time when you came, I think you came here last time, and you see there's big change. Now the opinion leaders and the leaders of the area have put their foot down and working on it seriously. So anybody that disobey the law or the law of the residency or the community will be found guilty.
Okay, so what are you doing different from what's pertained last year?
For now, we have arranged ourselves well. We make it every 2 weeks possible that we are going to make a general cleanup exercise every 2 weeks. The nation say 1 week, first week of the month.
Yeah.
But we are making it 2 weeks.
We are preparing towards that because we don't want to get the same information that we had earlier or a year ago. So we are here preparing, cleaning our environment.
Specifically, can you tell us what you are doing to ensure that you do not have the cholera cases recorded here?
Okay, we are cleaning our drainages and around, sweeping our surroundings to do something about to not get any effect like last year again.
The New Patriotic Party says it will go all lengths to stop President Mahama from using state resources for his campaign. The party has accused the president of using his accounting to the people tour as a guise to canvass for votes ahead of the November polls. Speaking on today's big story, Deputy Communications Director of the MPP, Michael Quay Jr., says that President's trips, which has already sent him to 3 regions, shows the dubious nature of the NDC government.
What is it that we are complaining about? When a president is going on a tour, and for example, he says, oh, I've done this and that, and so I want you to see what I have done. That is totally different from a president who says, this is what we want to do when you give us power. This is what you want to do when you give us power. We are going to give tertiary institutions this and that when you give us power. It makes him sound like he's campaigning, or he's like an opposition leader who is not in power and is saying that when I come, I will do this or do that.
But
because we know that if you are counting the people,
schools, some
it is
roads,
about what
and all
revenue
of that. Those
you've
are
been
things
able
that
to...
he has achieved.
Pardon?
I'm saying that the president, during his tour, he commissioned some schools, he commissioned roads, and all of that. Those are some of the things he has achieved.
Yes, exactly. But what we are saying is, if he had just done that, then this issue would not arise. But where you have a case where there is no subtlety, and it shows that basically what he's saying is, oh, I will do this when I come into power in 2016, then it is a campaign tour.
But the Deputy Communications Director of the NDC, Fred Agbenyo, has dismissed the claims which he describes as noises from the opposition party.
Government has done a lot of projects across the length of this country. It is incumbent on him to visit the project site. It's incumbent on him to take opportunity to commission some of the projects. It's incumbent on him to visit fellow countrymen and women wherever they are in this country. Almost every president from independence to date has done this. He's not the first president to be doing this. He will continue to do it. If anybody feels dissatisfied with it, that's a fellow's own headache.
But indeed, the MPP alleges that the people accompanying the president on his tour are not government officials. In fact, many of them are party people. And again, if you listen to the president, wherever he tours, he hammered on that fact or the point that the people must retain him in power. That's campaigning. Don't you think so?
I think that going an election year, the president should not go around this country again. It's not commission project. If he goes to commission project, he shouldn't remind the people that an election year they should vote for him when the opportunity comes. Is it wrong for a president to go around and tell the people that come 28th of this month, the electoral commission is going to open limited registration, and so they should participate in that process? What is wrong with it? This are not tellers we coming from very senior members of our society.
Meanwhile, the Center for Democratic Development, CDD, wants a clear line drawn to deal with such problems going forward. Up next, we bring you entertainment. A quick round through our top stories. Family of young man killed after officers of the Ghana Armed Forces fired on civilians last year rejects military report clearing them of any wrongdoing and vows to sue. National Health Insurance subscribers insist they are being made to split the cost of healthcare given them despite denials by some health facilities. Accra Metropolitan Assembly sounds alarm bells about cholera as a rainy season approaches in a bid to avert another epidemic. And in business, IMF boss Christine Lagarde cautions Ghana to endeavor to pass every review under the IMF program to help boost investor and market confidence in the economy. And for more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Israel. On behalf of the rest of the team, I wish you a good night.